Hi all, welcome to Cyber Warfare Labs AWS Cloud Red Team course. In this module, we will discuss about how we can enumerate the different VPCs within the AWS Cloud infrastructures, how we can segregate the network, what are the IP ranges are there, how many subnets are there, and what are the routing tables, what are the access control lists they have. So this is all these things we will do by a command line utility, either a API or AWS CLI. So currently I'm using the AWS CLI to enumerate all these things. The prerequisite is to enumerate all these things that you have at least read-only user access there. So suppose if as an attacker or if as a red team or a compromised user which have a read-only rights there in AWS environment, how we can enumerate a different VPCs, what are the services, what are the resources they have. So it's basically enumerating all these things within the VPCs. So first let's get started. Let's show in practically how we can do all these things. So you can see here I already configured my AWS CLI there. So let's enumerate VPC. If you don't have any informations, it's a blind, you don't have any informations, you have only access key, how you can enumerate different VPCs. So first thing to enumerate about list of VPC within the AWS account, you can see here this is the command I'm using, AWS EC2 describe VPC. So describe will give the list of all the VPC and few information about the VPC, their VPC ID and all these things. Okay, let's change this one. Perfect. Let's change it. Describe. Okay, so you can see here, if you execute this command, you can see here all the VPC within this AWS environments whose you have read-only access. So you need at least read-only access on this particular accounts, and you can enumerate all the VPC. So you can see here this is the VPC. So the first VPC you can see here, this is a VPC CIDR block, the IP range, DHCP options, state, it's available, VPC ID, owner ID, and all these informations within this one. Associations, tag name. So this is the default VPC. What about another VPC we have? This VPC. This is another VPC we have. This is the third VPC we have. So you can see list of information about VPC. As we discussed, so suppose we have a 4 VPC. This is the default VPC. This IP range is associated with this VPC. This is the second VPC. This is the CIDR block of this VPC, and it's tagged. It's showing that it's a VPC2. That means second VPC. Let's explore a few more things. This is the third VPC, and this is the IP range CIDR block, and you can see here this is the first VPC. So you can see here there's 4 VPCs there in this and account within this region. That is really important, because if I not specify the region, it will take the default region. So if you specify US West 1, US West 1, in this region you have only one VPC, which is default VPC. Each and every VPC have a one default region. So this is really important when you performing a red teaming, and when you are enumerating the VPC environment, you have to check the VPC in each and every regions. So East 1. So this is the current region which we have a 4 VPC, US East 1. So this is you should keep in mind that what region you are going to explore. You can see here, no, this is not the region. In US East 1 we have only 2 VPC. What about US East 2? Yes. So this is the VPC which we have a 4 region. So this is how this is the reason where we have a 4 VPCs. So this is how it is really important to understand about the region and how many VPCs are there in this particular region. So you can see there is a 4 region. Each region have one VPC. These are the 4. This is the region where we have a 4 VPCs. And this is how we can get the information about VPCs using command line utility. So you can see here. Let's explore about this particular VPCs. So this is seems like this is a VPC which is range. Let's explore more about this one. So you have to just copy this VPC ID. That's it. Perfect. You have to copy the VPC ID from here. And if you need more information, you can use the same command. Reason I am just leaving like that. Filter, which is used to filter the output. Name equal to VPC ID and value equal to this is the option. So it will give you the result about this particular VPCs. This is the CIDR block, VPC ID, honor, instance tendency, CIDR block association set, and all these things you can see here regarding this particular VPC. Now what next? I know that there is a 4 VPC. Let's explore thing about this particular VPC. What about the subnet? How many subnet are there within this VPC? So second command we are going to explore about the subnets. Let's copy this command. This is give the information about the subnets within the VPC. So you have to, if you directly copy here, no need to, if you are not specify the subnet or VPC ID or subnet ID, you won't see any other information. So let's copy this one. Let's open a new tab. Let's copy this one. So this will describe all the subnets within the region. Keep in mind that it will take a default region, so you have to specify the region when you want to specify this, when you want to extract the information about the subnet. So this is all the information about the subnet, but here I'm going to getting the information about this particular VPC filters. Now you have to specify the filter name is VPC ID, because I have only information about VPC ID. Value equal to, let's copy this VPC ID from here, and here you have to specify, paste it. Okay, so you can see here we have a 4 VPC. I'm going to explore more about, enumerate more about this VPC. How many subnets are there? So I specify this one. This is the command to specify the particular VPC. You can see here there is one subnet. This is the subnet 1, VPC 1. We are getting the information about the tag. So you can see here this is the CIDR block 10.1. You can see here in this VPC we have the CIDR block 10.1.0.0/16. That means there should be a subset of this VPC. So you can see 10.1.1.24. This is the subnet first. All the information about subnet ID, VPC ID. So this is the VPC ID, and you can see here we have only 2 subnets in this VPC. So you have to just specify the VPC ID. You will get the information about subnet. If you are not filtering this one, you will get all the subnet within the AWS account within the region which you want to either it's taking a default region, or it will you have to explicitly define the region. You can see here there is one subnet. This is the first subnet. This is the subnet first, and this is the subnet second. This is the CIDR block of second subnet. So this is how you can explore about how many subnets are there, and this is the subnet ARN. You can see here this is the subnet 1 in VPC 1. This is the subnet 2 in VPC 1. So this is how you can get the more information about the subnets. Now what next? Third thing we are going to explore about the routing table. So basically, what does this routing table means? Which is have a set of rules, which is define how traffic is route when some condition is met. So you can see here. Let's open a new tab. Copy this one. Same like other commands, it will be show you all the routing tables there in that region. How it's look like, we have associations, so which subnet, which VPC is associated. So you can see here this is associated with this subnet. This is the route table ID and this is the route informations. So you can see here in this routing table, this is the one route, this is the another route, this is the third route. So we have three informations, and this tag which is defined the routing table, and VPC ID. It is also important that you can see here we have a VPC ID, which is where this routing table is attached, as well as what are the subnets. So you can see here only this is associated with only one subnet. VPC we have multiple subnet. In VPC1 we have two subnets, but this routing table is associated with only single subnet. So there may be another routing table which is associated with another subnet. This is the route information you can see here. This is a local routing table. This is the VPC peering for VPC2. This is the internet gateway. So that means this is the public subnet, and this is the routing table which is attached to this subnet. What about another one? So you can see here this is the second routing table which is association with this. There is also important thing like, is it a main or it's a non? The main routing table is associated with few subnets, and so one should be a main routing table, other should not be a main routing table. There may be multiple routing table. If there is a multiple routing table, there is one main routing table and others are not. So this is how you can check all the routing tables. Where is associated? Okay, or you can do one thing. Let's filter out this thing. Let's filter out this result with this VPC only. Let's check if it's possible. Name, VPC ID, value equal to, you have to specify the VPC. You can also filter out using a subnet, but I will specify the VPC. Yes, so you can see here this is the routing table which is associated with this subnet, and this is the route. So it seems like this is the public subnet. We have a no, it's not like public subnet because it's attached to net gateway. So it seems like this is the private subnet. We have another routing table where they specify the public subnet, and you can see this is the routing table first, and this is the routing table second. Yes, and this is associated with internet gateway. So in this VPC we have only two routing table. And why it's important, you can see there is one more thing, that which one is the main routing table. You can see here when you see the association, this is called false. That means this is not a main routing table. This is the main routing table, and this is associated with this one. You can see here this is the subnet ID where this routing table is associated, and this is the subnet ID where this routing table is associated. So in one VPC we have two subnets and two routing tables. So this is how you can explore about, and you will also understand about which one is a private subnet, which one is public subnet, how we can access it. You can see here this is the route which is defined here. So one net gateway, one peering connections, and one is local. And this route another subnet routing table defined, this is local within the same VPC route, and this is the internet gateway. So that means this is the public subnet. So this is how you can explore more about which one is private, which one is public, where is net gateway attached, where is internet gateway attached, where is VPC endpoint is attached. That will help you to perform red teaming, because in red teaming, suppose if you want to exfiltrates few information. What are the method we can exfiltrate? Maybe there is no internet connectivity, but there is some other way you can exfiltrate those information. Just like if there is one VPC which have a public endpoint, so you can push your data to the S3 and from there you can download it from the internet. So this is how there is a lot more things that will help you to exfiltrate the data, and what are the method you can use to exfiltrate the data from this thing. So this is really important to understand about routing tables, route informations, as well as the other information regarding the VPC. So enumeration is really important. Now fourth thing which is really important for enumerating is network ACLS. So you can see here, if I want to explore or I want to enumerate about network ACLS, let's open a new tab, copy this one. It will list down all the ACLS there in this region. It will only show you the list of network ACL, VPC or subnets in this within the region or region you specify. There's a lot more thing within the another region, so you have to not only enumerate the single region, but you have to enumerate all the regions within the AWS environment or the accounts which you have. So this is the raw network ACLS. This is how association. So this is associated with, this is the ID, network ACL ID, and this is associated with this subnet. That means there is one NACL which is associated with two subnet. This is the first subnet and this is the second subnet. What are the, you can see here entries there: egress true, egress false. That means this is for incoming connection, this is for outgoing connection. It will allow for both the all the traffic. It will allow all the traffic, but this is for incoming, this is for outgoing. So this is how you can see here in the tags it's mentioned that NACL for VPC1, and this is attached for both the subnets. So there is no separate NACL for all different subnets. This is the second NACL. This is the second NACL. This is similar like we have. Let's explore about. This is the third NACL, and this is why I want to see. You can see there is one. This is the third NACL which is associated with both the subnet. This is the subnet and this is the subnet which is associated. Entry you can see here: ingress, incoming, true. This is true, this is the false. That means this is the incoming connections which is mentioned here. Okay, so now let's discuss about network ACLS, which is really important, which is work as a firewall to protect your instance or your resources from a network layer itself. So let's check all the ACLS within this region. So let's open a new tab, copy this one. It will give you the result of all the ACLS present within the same region or region you explicitly define here. So you can see here the association. So this is the ACL which is associated with this subnet as well as this subnet. This is the entries. Egress mean outgoing, ingress mean incoming. So outgoing, allow, all allow. This is the second rule, but the first rule, which is the topmost rule, is first. It will check first the topmost rule. If it's allowed, that means it's allowed. So the priority is just like the topmost have the higher priority than the lowest one. So all this is the outgoing, this is the incoming. And it say egress is false, that means this is for incoming traffic. So you can explore more about like that. This is the VPC ID where this is attached, but these are the subnet where this is associated. So there may be one subnet, each is associated with each and every subnet, or simultaneously one NACL can be associated with the multiple subnets, but it will be attached with the one VPC. This you can see here, this is the NACL which is attached with the VPC1, but associated with different subnet. Different subnet also it can be associated. So you can see here we have another NACL which is associated with both the subnets. So that means each and every VPC have a single NACL. There may be a chance that one VPC have multiple NACL and those NACL can be associated with a different subnet. This is the entry. This is the NACL for VPC3. Let's talk about NACL for VPC2. This is associated with subnet and this is the subnet. This NACL is associated and these are the entries. So you can see here from outgoing connections, the connection which is leaving AWS cloud environment to the internet, this is called all true. This is the all, and this is saying it's allow. That means from within your AWS environment and whatever devices instance have in this subnet can access anything to the internet. But this is the case where it's so this will only allow 22 port from the internet to access the instance within this VPC or within this subnet. So this is how we can define, we can enumerate information about what IP. You can see here also this is the IP range who can access the instance on these port. So only this IP can access, or this IP range can access the instance in this subnet on port 22. So that means if we are talking about can anybody access on port 80, no, it is blocked by network layer itself, not the instance level. So when we're talking about the instance layer level, we are saying about a subnet groups, or we can say not subnet groups, it's called security groups. But when we're talking about a network level, we are using NACL, network access control. So even if your instance security group allowed to connect on another port, but if it's blocked by NACL, it won't access it. So it's a topmost protections on the network level itself. This is how you can define this NACL. So there's a lot more thing you can explore. You can have a filter to understand about all these things, but this is the basic thing you should have about one VPC. Then we will discuss another thing when we trying to exploit, just like when we moving from one VPC to another VPC, we have to understand about the VPC peering, how the connection is work, what are the information we can get, and how we can pivoting or laterally move from within one VPC to another VPC. So we'll discuss all these things in our later sections. And last one is how many resources are there. We will discuss on each and every resource, just like EC2 instance. Is there an EC2 instance in this VPC or this subnet? Yeah, we will discuss about in our EC2 instance sections about all these things. So I think for this session we have this thing. We are enumerating about informations in VPC. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video.